In this video, we will look at normalizing the data we have imported. What does normalizing the data mean? In the SQL-compliant database world, we have this concept of normalizing data, which means that each row in our table should have a unique piece of information. That is called, as you see here, the first normal form. As you see here, ensure atomicity and define a primary key. And atomicity means single unique value for each row. Now, let me get over here. Now, we did not do that in the previous video. We simply put all the data into the table exactly as it was in the spreadsheet. A primary key is a value which identifies and is unique to every single row. Typically, it's a number, it's an integer. In some systems, for example, in SQL Server, you can also have what's called a, let me type this here, a GUID or universal ID. It's a series of letters and numbers which SQL Server will generate for you. They are always unique, and you would put that as a new column in this table, and then make sure you have your primary key, whether it's a GUID or an integer. It technically can be anything. There's no law that I know of that says you can't have something else, but it must be unique for every single row. And the idea is, if you want to look at a particular row in this table, for example, it's basically one row per reported incidence of crime. And you want to look at one particular incident, one particular crime, well, you need some way to identify that exact row. For example, we see date reported, but other crimes occurred on the same day or reported on the same day. There's an area name. Other crimes occurred in the same area. You're looking at intimate partner simple assault, but there may be many other incidents of intimate partner simple assault on the same day in the same area. So you want some number or integers, some GUID, or some means of identifying that exact row. We also have what are called second normal form. Remove partial functional dependencies. Now what that means is you'll see, even right here, under, for example, area name, we see that multiple crimes occur in every different area. 77th Street, Olympic, Southeast. But then we see Southeast right here. 77th Street occurs again and again. Southeast occurs again and again. What we want to do is take all this area name and put that in a separate table, which will have a relationship to what we call kind of a main table, sometimes called a fact table in data warehouses, which is another particular type of databases. Instead of the area name, we will have a link from the table that has one row per crime to a table we're going to create that will include the area name. And I have I'm calling it table breakdown. We see, I looked at the table earlier, and you'll see if we get crime code description, let's get in the right database. But again, so for we want to get all the distinct values of, for example, area, and we see there's 21 of them. In this case, you can see there's already a number is assigned to each area. Same for each individual crime. And now you'll see, like right here, 39 and 40 crime code description. This is one of the reasons why you'd want to do this and why it ensures better data integrity. We see there's this crime listed as credit cards, fraud use, parens, $950 and under, but no closing parens. Oops, back up. That's not a good one. Get back up to beginning crime code description. So when I get crime code descriptions, one of the issues we can conceivably have, I don't know if we have it. Oh, looks, we see it here. Whatever names we're going to use for the crimes, we want to make sure that's consistent. And you see in the spreadsheet we uploaded, it looks like in a couple cases, I'm guessing these are the same crimes: replica firearm sale, display, da 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 da, and same thing with below it, but 0132. Again, in a realistic setting, we try to make sure that these are meant to be the same crimes. They look like they are, and again, we see it looks like the same crime, but there's a number typed at the end for some reason. And here we have W/, and then in some cases people have spelled out with a, and we want that to be that the naming convention to be consistent. For example, if these are really the same crimes, but if we group by the names of the crime, we're going to get incorrect or misleading data, because actually we'll think we're looking at two different crimes, and actually we're looking at the same crime. Some of these names are pretty graphic. I apologize for that, but that's the crime game for you. So what we'd probably do, for example, for crime code, is decide on which of these, W, do we want W/, or do we want to spell with a, and the whichever it in one sense it's not important what which naming convention you go with. If this is supposed to match other lists of crimes, then you'd want to make sure you do that. But say we want W/, we don't want to spell it with a, then we would update every instance of sexual penetration. I'm not going to say it out loud on YouTube. We would update everything with a to W/. Now what I've done, and I've looked at a couple of these, you can see, the quick way to see what you're looking at, like for the crime code, is I just do a select distinct crime term description, and then I order by, and that's how I can look to see if I have dupes, or will look to be the same values, just named again, typed slightly differently. And what I'm looking for, I see on the left hand side, these are all the columns of the table. And I'm looking for things that that repeat over the rows. So obviously, the description of the crimes repeat a lot. And again, we want the names to be consistent for all of them. And I looked at, all the other ones that are kind of similar, premise, description, ... and say, okay, it looks like, what bus stop, or layover, bus stop, layover. Again, we would go through all of these and make them consistent. Name, maybe just one, and then decide what we're bus stop, layover, also ... just to say, maybe just make this bus stop or layover. And I don't know, bus depot, I guess, is different from bus stop. Anyway, so you would want to go through all these and anything, and if things look identical, or not identical, but they really mean the same thing, they're just spelled slightly differently. Like I said, pick which one you think is appropriate and update the others to make them the same. And then over here, here's what I've done. Create table area. And this will hold the data for, area name we put over here. In the case of SQL Server, I'm for the primary key. You create, I'm calling it just area ID and then area name. And that's the naming convention I like. When I put ID at the end, it's just, you can always look it up anyway, but area, any column that I put ID at the end, I'm going to make that is an integer field. Identity means that I don't have to supply a value. Every time I insert a row, SQL Server will automatically create a value starting with number 1 and will increment it by 1. This not null, that means it always has to be a value here, and I'm telling SQL Server, make this the primary key. This number shall be unique for every row. So if I do that, and then I insert into and I'm going to do this select. So again, I don't want, now you see, oops, I forgot distinct. Because what I want to do is, I want this new table I've created, area_LA, to hold the unique values of the area names from the table I created from the file. So I do this, 21 rows, has been created. Let's see what they look like. So you see, I have area ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then going down, and I can go over to the left here. I can do refresh. We now see the table, and SQL Server knows that this is a primary key. And you see I've done that for status, for everything I think gets repeated across the table. To get back here, status, description, adult, other, invested, voted, so on and so forth. And I have this create table statement for all of those. And I can run these create statements all at the same time. This create table crime data LA, that will be another new table I'll create. Again, I'm creating a primary key, so that's the first normal form. And now you see, instead of over on the left, we see area name, I'm going to have area ID. And it will hold it. This int means integer. And at the end of the create table statement, I've said foreign key, area ID, and it knows, the SQL Server knows from the syntax that I mean area ID in this table, crime data LA, references the table area LA, and the area ID in this table must be in the area LA table that you've seen that I've created and I've populated. So I'm going to, and since I've created all the other tables, now the reason I'm doing it in this order is because of this foreign key. I want to make sure, and again, this is part of data integrity. I've created area ID, and I don't want, the only valid area IDs are in my area LA table. They're 1 through 21. I don't want area ID in this table, which I'm going to go ahead and create, I guess. Boom. And I'm going to do refresh so they see it. And you can see on the left-hand side, the keys, it has the primary key and all these foreign keys. So area ID, crime code, victim, premise code, status, I'm going to make sure what will happen is if I or anyone tries to put, for example, a value in area ID in this table that is not in my area LA table, which I also can call a lookup table, SQL Server will toss me an error. It won't let me, and that's good because my area LA table is clean data that I've gone over, and I made sure it's valid. There's no dupes or the same value just spelled differently. All that stuff, I will have cleaned all that up, and so my what do I want to say? So my queries will have correct data.